So here is a little golden book called The New Baby. And I used to have a version of this that was a much newer version in the 1980s, but this one is older, obviously. This one originally belonged to Karen Coop. So Karen, if this is your book, I have it. And this copyright is 1948. And here it is. Mike lived in a white house. There was a green lawn around the house and lots of pretty flowers. Mike was sweeping the garage. Daddy was mowing the lawn. Mommy was in the house cooking supper. A big red truck stopped in front of the house. The delivery man took a large box from the truck. He was bringing it to Mike's house. What could it be? It wasn't Christmas, so it couldn't be a Christmas present. It wasn't a lawnmower. Daddy had a lawnmower. It wasn't a new tricycle. Mike had a new red tricycle in the garage. Hello, Mike said to the delivery man. Hello there, said the delivery man. Is that for us? Asked Mike. Yes, replied the delivery man, and he rang the doorbell. What's in the box? Mike asked. It's a bassinet. Mike wondered what a bassinet would be. Mommy came to the door. Bring the box right in, she said. The delivery man put the box in the corner. Then he went back to the truck and drove away. Mike looked at the big box. What's a bassinet, Mommy? He said. Daddy came in before Mommy had time to answer. Aha, he said. Here's our new bassinet. What is a bassinet? Mike asked again. Daddy smiled. It's a baby bathtub, he told Mike. Would you like to see it? Yes, I want to see it, Mike said. Then we'll open the box now, said Daddy. He took out his knife and cut the string. The box came open. There it was. A baby's bathtub. Where are we going to put it? Said Mike. In the bathroom, said Mommy. Well, we have a bathtub, Mike said, and this one is too little even for me. This is for the baby, Daddy told him. For a minute, Mike did not say anything. Whose baby? He said at last. Our baby, Daddy said. After a while, we're going to have a new little one. A baby, said Mike. Will it have red hair like Susie next door? Will it be a little boy or a little girl? When is it coming here? Will it sleep in the little bed or will it sleep in my big bed? It won't sleep in the big bed, Daddy told him. It will sleep in a basket at first, and we don't know whether it will be a little girl or a little boy, Mommy said. We will give it a bath in the bassinet, Daddy explained. He took a cushion and showed Mike how he would bathe a baby. When will the baby be here, Mike said. Daddy told Mike that the baby would come quite soon. When Mommy said time for supper, before Mike could ask even one more question, Mike had soup and meat and potatoes for supper. He had milk and lettuce and carrots too. When he had eaten everything, he had a cookie. All the time he was thinking how nice it would be to have a baby brother or sister. Would it be like Tommy's sister across the street? Or would it be like Billy's brother next door? Or like baby Joe on the next block? Mike learned more about babies very soon. He and Mommy and Daddy started a scrapbook. The scrapbook had a picture of a baby on the cover. Pictures were pasted inside the book. They were cut from old magazines. They were pictures of babies. And more babies. And a bassinet. That's the basket babies sleep in. And rattles. And nursing bottles. And booties. And nightgowns. And diapers. And kimonos. And shirts. A little while after the scrapbook was full, Mike had another surprise. Aunt Pat was coming. She was Mommy's sister, and she was coming on the train. After lunch, Daddy, Mommy, and Mike went to the station to meet the train. They drove in their car. Is Aunt Pat coming to see the baby? Mike wanted to know. Yes, said Daddy, and she's going to help Mommy feed and bathe it. Oh, can I help too? Of course you can, Mommy said. Along came the train. Chuff, chuff, chuff. Ooh, it said as it stopped. There's Aunt Pat, Mike cried, and ran to meet her. The first thing Aunt Pat said was, how big you are, Mike. The first thing Mike said was, we're going to have a baby. Is that so? Said Aunt Pat. She seemed very surprised. Yes, and you and I are going to help feed it. Well, well, said Aunt Pat. Is that so? She still looked very surprised. At supper, Mike asked, who will bring the baby? Daddy said, no one will bring it. Mommy and I will go to the hospital for the baby. Yes, Mommy explained. In a little while, the doctor will help me have the baby at the hospital. Aunt Pat, Mommy's going to have the baby at the hospital, Mike repeated. Aunt Pat slept in Mike's room. Daddy moved the big bed in for her. She read Mike a story before he went to sleep. It was nice to have Aunt Pat there. Mike woke up. The light was burning. It was still dark outside. Aunt Pat was in the hall. She wore her bathrobe. Mommy and Daddy were up too. Is it time to get up, Mike asked. No, Mike, Daddy said. Daddy had his hat on. Where are you going, Mike asked. I'm taking Mommy to the hospital for our baby. You stay with Aunt Pat. I'll be back pretty soon. Mommy kissed Mike. Sleep tight, she said. Soon you'll have the baby to take care of, and you can be a big helper to Aunt Pat. Show her where we keep the breakfast food and bring in the milk. Daddy kissed Mike too. Daddy, said Mike, do babies always come at night? It seems as ours do, said Daddy, but lots of them come in the daytime too. Now back to sleep you go. I'll see you in the morning. In the morning, Mike helped Aunt Pat. He laced his shoes by himself. He brought out the cornflakes. He took oranges from the icebox. He carried chairs to the table. He brought in the milk, and he ate every bit of his breakfast. The telephone rang, and Aunt Pat got up for Mike. But Mike got there first. Hello, he said. It was Daddy. Daddy said, Mike, you have a fine baby sister. Now let's talk to Aunt Pat. Aunt Pat took the telephone. She seemed terribly excited. Isn't that wonderful? She said, 8 pounds. What a big one. She put down the phone and hugged Mike. Daddy says, you have an 8-pound baby sister. Oh, said Mike, maybe I can run and tell Mrs. Blair. Of course you may, Aunt Pat told him. So Mike ran next door as fast as he could to tell Miss Blair. Before long, Daddy came home in the car. He boosted Mike in the air and then ran into the house. Just then, a big red truck stopped in the front of the house. The delivery man took a big box from the truck. He was bringing it to Mike's house. What could it be? It wasn't a Christmas yet, so it couldn't be a Christmas present. It couldn't be a lawnmower. Daddy still had a lawnmower. And it couldn't be a tricycle. Mike still had his red tricycle. Could it be another baby bath mat? Mike ran up the steps. He didn't even wait to say hello to the delivery man. He was looking for Daddy and Aunt Pat. He was quite excited. Aunt Pat, Mike said, are we going to have another baby? What, said Daddy? I hardly think so, said Aunt Pat, at least not for a while. Why do you ask? Well, said Mike, the delivery man is here with another box. He brought one just before the baby came. Daddy laughed and said, this is a surprise for you, Mike. Let's go and get the package. The delivery man was at the door. Hello, Mike said. Hello there, said the delivery man. That's for me, Mike said. Mike told him and pointed to the big package. Daddy and the delivery man carried the box upstairs. What can it be, Mike wondered. It's so big to be toys. Come on, Daddy said, give me your hand, and soon we'll see what it is. Mike ran upstairs, 2 steps at a time. There was the big box standing in the middle of the room. The delivery man was prying off the top of the box. Let me help, said Mike. Together, Daddy and Mike and the delivery man opened the box. And there was a big new bed. For me, cried Mike. Mike and his daddy took the parts of the bed and put them together. It looked beautiful. Now the baby can have a little bed, said Mike. And he would have been very happy, except that he wanted to see the baby. Every day, Daddy went to the hospital to see Mommy and the baby. Aunt Pat sometimes went too. Mike stayed at home and waited and wondered what the baby would look like. Would she have blue eyes? Would she have fuzzy yellow hair? Would she cry like Mrs. Blair's baby? When can I see our baby? Mike asked. What will we call her? You'll see her soon, said Daddy. How about it, Mike? Shall we call the baby Patricia because we love Aunt Pat? All right, let's call the baby Pat too, said Mike. Patty is a nice nickname, said Aunt Pat. Pat and Mike sound good, don't you think? Asked Mike. Mike sat down and thought about the baby. After a while, he went up in the attic. He looked for toys that he thought Pat would like. He found a rubber doll and a wagon, and he found a rattle. Mike put them on a shelf. These are for Pat, he told Aunt Pat. After that, he helped Aunt Pat again. He brought in the newspaper. He picked up his toys. One day, he started to wonder where Pat would sleep when she came home. He asked Aunt Pat. You'll see, she said. So Mike went out to play, but all the time he wondered, where will the baby sleep? Where will she want to play? What will the baby look like? What will Mommy and the baby come home? Then one day, Daddy was bringing Mommy and Pat home from the hospital in the car. Mike sat on the steps and waited for them. A green car came along. It was not the car that Mike was looking for. A yellow car came along. It was not the right car either. Then a blue car turned the corner. That was their car. Mike ran down the sidewalk to the car. Daddy got up first. He gave Mike an extra high boost in the air. Mommy kissed Mike and told him how glad she was to be home. Mrs. Blair came from over to the house from next door. Mrs. Mooney and Mrs. Hanson walked over from their houses across the street. Everyone wanted to see little Pat. But Mike wanted to see her most of all. He looked. She was red as a beet. She had blue eyes. She had fuzzy yellow hair, just as he thought. When Aunt Pat, Daddy, little Pat, and Mommy were inside, Mike said, May I hold our baby? Of course you may, Mommy said. So Mike sat on the couch. Then they put a big pillow on his lap and put the baby on the pillow. How proud Mike was. It's wonderful to have a baby, Mike decided. The end. I really enjoyed the super awesome vintage art. Like if you noticed, of course, the father is always smoking his pipe. And the mother, who's about to have the baby, looks like that. In the version that my parents read me, she definitely looked like an expectant mother. And man, that was one long hospital stay. So I hope you enjoyed this vintage, a little golden book version of The New Baby from 1948.